Pam Bondi said the Epstein files were sitting right on her desk. Yet somehow, overnight, she wants the entire country to believe there's nothing to see. And that single reversal has become the spark for one of the biggest political firestorms Congress has faced in years. Because when someone in her position suddenly backtracks on a case this explosive, people don't just get suspicious, they start wondering what she saw, who she talked to, and why her story changed the moment the pressure hit. And that's where the entire fight over the Epstein files truly begins. For months, the public has been demanding answers. Survivors have been pleading for transparency. Lawmakers have been pushing to expose whatever's been buried behind years of redactions, sealed records, and whispered claims about powerful people who never faced consequences.
Is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, you got to love the gentleman from Georgia when he says that he worries about the deficit and the debt. My question is, why the hell did you vote for the big ugly bill that adds $4 trillion to the debt? It makes no sense. At this, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to urge that we defeat the previous question, and I will offer an amendment to the rule to immediately bring up to the House floor H.R. 4405, the bipartisan Epstein Files Transparency Act introduced by Representatives Khanna and Massey under a closed rule with one hour of debate. Mr. Speaker, tonight in the Rules Committee, Democrats offered a motion, several motions, to allow a vote on the floor to actually release the Epstein files, and Republicans on the committee just voted to block it. Time and time again. The only reason it won't be considered on the floor immediately after this rule passes is because of 9 Republicans on the Rules Committee who voted no. Now, with the previous question, I will give the entire Republican conference another chance to vote to release the Epstein files. The only other chance to vote on it this week. And as I just said, the resolution Republicans just voted on in the Rules Committee is a glorified press release. It is non-binding. The Republicans are pretending to do something because they're feeling the heat at home. But it won't even come to the House floor this week, Mr. Speaker. We can't even get a commitment for when it's coming to the floor. The bipartisan bill we are offering, if we defeat the previous question, would actually release the files. It would have the power of law. It would not be a glorified press release. Ask yourself, Mr. Speaker, why would anybody want to stop this bill from getting a vote? What are Republicans so afraid of? Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of my amendment into the record, along with extraneous material, immediately prior to the vote on the previous question. And to discuss that proposal, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California, the sponsor of the bill, Mr. Khanna.
Without objection, the gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the American people, Republicans, Independents, Democrats, want the Epstein files released with the victim's identity protected. Now, most people don't understand how this town works, so I'm going to try to explain this really simply. Congressman Massey and I introduced a bipartisan bill to release all the Epstein files and to make sure victims were protected. There are 10 Republican co-sponsors of that bill, including MAGA stalwarts like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, including Lauren Boebert, including Tim Burchett. And we have the votes tonight to pass it. But what happened is in the Rules Committee, they don't want to have this vote tonight because they know they're going to lose, because they know their own members want to vote for it. What's even sillier is they had this non-binding resolution. So I thought, surely we would vote on a non-binding resolution. They don't even want to vote on the non-binding resolution in case Donald Trump gets slightly offended. They don't even want the vote on the non-binding resolution tonight. Now, the president is paying attention, not just because his favorite Congressman Thomas Massey is involved. He's paying attention, and he said, okay, let's release. He directs the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, let's release and ask the courts to release the grand jury testimony. Here's the problem. The grand jury testimony is largely about Epstein and Maxwell, not about all the rich and powerful men who abused, assaulted, and abandoned young women. Those people are still being protected. And by the way, the courts usually don't release grand jury testimony. But you know what? The president is hearing the American people. And the president knows that if there's a vote tonight, this body overwhelmingly would vote for the release of the files.
30 seconds.
I don't
Additional
need
30
more 30
seconds.
seconds. I need 10 seconds. This question is, whose side are you on? Today, the Democrats are on the side of the people. The Democrats are on the side of the children. There are 10 Republicans who are on the side of the people and the children, but the entire Democratic Party is on that side, and the Republicans have chosen to protect the rich and powerful men who've abused our children. It's wrong, and that's the clear difference tonight.
And right in the middle of it all stands the Attorney General, once promising openness, now blocking the release, shutting down questions, and insisting the public simply trust her judgment. But trust is the one thing she no longer commands. Not when her own words contradict each other. Not when her tone shifts exactly when accountability gets close. And not when members of Congress, from both sides of the aisle, say the American people deserve the truth she's now refusing to provide. That is where Ro Khanna stepped in. His amendment wasn't just a political maneuver. It was a direct challenge to the entire system that has shielded the Epstein network for decades. His message was brutally simple. No more hiding. No more excuses. No more kicking the can down the road while the country remains in the dark. He demanded a recorded vote, a moment where every member of Congress would have to stand up and publicly declare whether they support releasing the Epstein files or keeping them hidden. No room for backroom deals. No space for procedural games. Just a straight-up question. Whose side are you on? To ordinary Americans, the choice seems obvious. Release the files. Let the truth come out. End the shadow games. But in Washington, simplicity rarely survives contact with power. Khanna framed the moment as a showdown between the people and the protected class. Those wealthy, well-connected figures who have quietly steered influence, pulled strings, and operated behind legal shields for years. The very idea of exposing the Epstein files means exposing relationships, exposing transactions, exposing entire networks that have remained untouched. And the closer Congress gets to shining a light on those names, the faster powerful people scramble to shut the doors. That's why Khanna's amendment terrified the establishment. A recorded vote forces their hands. It strips away the plausible deniability. Once the vote is public, every single member will have to answer to their constituents and the country about why they chose secrecy over accountability. And in an election season, that's a nightmare for the people who'd rather keep their alliances quiet. Which is why the Rules Committee moved so aggressively to block the vote before it could reach the floor. But before the vote even happened, the tension in Congress was already boiling. Pam Bondi's abrupt reversal didn't just raise eyebrows, it set off alarms. She didn't just change her mind. She attempted to rewrite the narrative entirely. One week, she says the files are on her desk. The next, she insists there's nothing worth releasing. That kind of flip doesn't come from nowhere. And when someone with that much authority suddenly slams the brakes on a disclosure they previously supported, people can't help wondering who benefits from the sudden secrecy. Rumors began swirling, speculation about concealed names, potential foreign connections, undisclosed communications between elites, and political pressure coming from places no one is willing to admit publicly. None of this is proven, but the shift was so abrupt and so convenient for so many powerful figures that the speculation practically wrote itself. And Khanna wasn't afraid to say what millions of Americans were thinking. If the Attorney General is blocking the files, who exactly is she protecting? His amendment demanded that Congress stop hiding behind procedural shields and finally confront the truth head-on. But when the Rules Committee met, the walls closed in fast. All 4 Democrats voted for full release. One Republican, Ralph Norman, broke ranks and joined them. Chip Roy didn't even show up, adding a strange silence that only fueled more questions. And the rest of the committee, 7 Republicans, united to block the vote altogether. In one decision, they buried the amendment. They removed the possibility of a recorded vote. They prevented transparency from even reaching the floor. And in doing so, they didn't just stop Khanna. They validated exactly what the public already feared, that someone, somewhere, desperately wants these files to stay hidden. The fallout was instant. Public outrage surged. People demanded to know why Congress was blocking the one path to accountability. Online, the reaction was volcanic. Calls for transparency erupted across political lines, and the perception of a coordinated cover-up grew stronger with every unanswered question. Even within the Republican Party, the cracks began widening. Norman's break from his own leadership signaled dissatisfaction beneath the surface. Roy's absence fueled speculation, and whispers began circulating that more Republicans privately support releasing the files, but fear retaliation from within their own ranks. And then, unexpectedly, Elon Musk entered the conversation. In a single blunt message, he sliced through the political noise. Just release the files as promised. No hedging, no soft language, no partisan calculation. He directly called out the contradictions. He pointed out how certain political figures kept invoking Epstein while simultaneously telling the public to stop talking about it. When a high-profile figure like Musk joins the pressure campaign, it shifts the energy completely. It tells people that even influential outsiders see the inconsistencies. It also intensifies the discomfort among those trying to keep everything contained behind closed doors. But beyond the politics, Khanna argued something far more important, that this case is unique. This isn't just another federal file. This isn't a routine investigation or a standard DOJ matter. This case involves foreign governments, national security implications, and a web of connections extending far beyond one individual. He argued that releasing the files would not set a precedent because no other case compares to the sheer scale and gravity of the Epstein network. This is a once-in-history situation, one that demands extraordinary transparency because of the extraordinary harm involved. Khanna made it clear. Promises were made to the American people. The Attorney General publicly admitted she had the files. There were assurances the truth would come out. And then everything changed without explanation. That kind of shift destroys trust. And trust is already fragile in a system where people feel the powerful are protected while ordinary citizens are ignored. If the files remain hidden, that trust may never be restored. This isn't just about Epstein. It's about the larger problem everyone sees but few in Washington want to admit, that there is a protected class in America. A group shielded from scrutiny, insulated from accountability, and guarded by institutions that claim to serve the public. Every blocked vote, every reversed promise, every procedural roadblock makes that reality harder to deny. People aren't just angry, they're tired. Tired of secrets, tired of selective justice, tired of watching powerful figures walk away untouched while the truth gets buried deeper. And Khanna's push brought that frustration into the spotlight. He exposed the fault lines in Congress. He showed which members are ready to confront the darkness and which are determined to keep it sealed away. And even though the amendment was blocked, he made it clear this fight isn't over. More resolutions are coming. More attempts will be made. And the pressure on Congress will only intensify. This moment marks a turning point. Because once the public senses a cover-up, the demand for truth doesn't fade. It grows louder. And with Musk amplifying the call, with Republicans breaking ranks, and with the Attorney General's credibility collapsing under her own contradictions, the push for the Epstein files isn't disappearing. It's accelerating. The question now is how long the system can withstand the pressure before something finally breaks. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update as this story unfolds.